where I'm from, they hate you when you smiling. Your faith should be your gun. You can't leave home without it. The children being grown, cause all the parents acting childish. You show them your reality, I bet they doubt it. You tell them all about your dreams, that's when they out it. Your own blood, ain't no family no more. They do you badly for show. You try to patch up your soul, Lord knows you on a mission to show him you so submissive. The prayer said it's silence, you know the devil can hear him, pay attention. Know the war's within, how much time do you spend? Try to balance your zen, then again, losses is lessons. You tell me you trying to win, we know about saving money. You tell me you trying to spend that blood on it. Sweat, tears, you put that love on it. Your best years was just a dumb moment. You tired of going hungry, can't deal with fake making your life lonely. Your lack of faith that left your soul boning. But you gon' work and you gon' strive, do what it takes to survive. What is truth, what is a lie? You know that war's inside. Some get draped into the faith, they don't know what to decide. Wrong choice, meet your demise, keep that between you and I. You realize some people you gon' let go, you visualize. The things you need to feed your soul is on the rise. They not gon' wanna let you go, but it's alright. It's cool to bury what's gon' grow. Went from wrong to the right and to the dark to the light. It was a hell of a fight. You give it all your might. Gotta hold on tight and you stay strong and precise. You fight the war that's inside, cause it might change your life. Wrong to the right and to the dark from the light. It was a hell of a fight. You give it all your might. You just hold on tight and you stay strong and precise. You fight the war that's inside, cause it might change your life. I ain't the person that I used to be. So what I do today ain't things that you used to see. Stay the same, no, things change usually. Some folk I may know might get reintroduced to me. Yeah, I ain't the person that I used to be. So what I do today ain't things that you used to see. Stay the same, no, things change usually. Some folk I may know might get reintroduced to me. Yeah.
Yeah, don't be stressing on the dumb shit, cause God is gonna make a way. Just keep going and keep your faith, so you can win this race called life, yeah. This race called life. This race called life, yeah. Race called life. Yeah. I'm grinding, girl, I know that I'm gon' get it. I just gotta have vision, keep faith and be humble. Have some patience with it. I've been A1 since day one, and always on my job. I never been a fake, never had to steal and rob, cause I do good business, I'm too good with it. And even though I'm on this road, I'm still daddy to my children. You know I do good with them, and don't like being missing. But I hate when my bills are thicker and my pockets get thinner. But I can't stress up on the dumb shit, cause God is gonna make a way. I keep going and keep my faith in my face, so I can win this race called life. This race called life. I'm just trying to win this race called life. This race called life. Just trying to win this race called.
What's up, family? Y'all know what it is. It's your brother Humble Mystic in the building today. In a day, family, we got a couple topics to cover. So stay tuned. Feel free to come up. It's a StreamYard that says an open. This is an open panel. I dropped the link in the comments. So if I'm touching on any topics that y'all actually, want to give your own opinion about or come up and give your own worldview about, feel free. Before I get it in here, y'all know I'm gonna play a commercial and then we're gonna get it right in right after the commercial. Let's get it, y'all.
Attention all debate fans. You've been watching, you've been arguing, you've been picking sides. But now it's time to level up. From this point forward, all debates on this platform are going members only. That means the hottest clashes, the wildest arguments, and your favorite personalities going head to head will only be available to subscribers. You want real scholarship, you want the smoke, you want the unfiltered action, then don't get left outside looking in. Sign up today for as low as $3.99 and get full access to every debate, every moment, every knockout argument. This is Titans Debate League, where legends are made and debates get real. Join now or miss out.
All right, and we back with it. What's up, fam? I see y'all in the building. Soul Tribe family, I see y'all. Special shouts out. Thank you so much. Haha, yo, fam. How do you spend so much time online? Do you have a 9 to 5? Hey, listen, man. YouTube never sleep, bro. YouTube never sleep. I know when you be looking around, don't none of these other panels be sleeping. I know you. Listen, we in 2026, bro. So I know there's a thing today called content creation. I'm just saying. If you don't know, yeah, you should go look it up. But without further ado, I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna get into some of these things. The first topic, family, we're gonna dive into is Tartaria. We had that conversation the other day. And it was some brothers on a panel that actually thought Tartaria actually existed. And so what I'm gonna bring today is a couple points of my own. We talking about 3 points today. One, Tartaria. Somebody else the other day made a comment about the Middle East being in America. We're gonna dive into that today as well. And then we're gonna dive into a little bit of worldviews. If my laptop stop acting so slow, we can get to it. All right, here we go right here. Bang. All right. I actually want to blow it up because I can't see it like that. That was the whole point of me doing that. All right, anyway, I could read it like this, though. So, a deep dive into the myth of Tartaria, architectural pseudo-history, family. Pseudo-history. This is why we got to be careful of so many pseudo-judos out here. You see what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. It ain't a bad thing. You want to try to find your own, your own philosophy or your own worldview, or, you want to do something outside of the norm. That's all fine. But you have to be aware of the pseudo history, the pseudo architectural. You have to be the pseudo science. You have to be aware of these things. That way, that you're headed in the right direction, and you ain't got nothing to feel bad about leading the people astray. Let's get into it. Core breakdown in historical context. The Tartaria or Tartarian Empire, hypothesized as an internet-born pseudo-historical conspiracy, family. It's an internet-born pseudo-historical conspiracy theory. Alleged that a vast technological, advanced global spanning civilization existed until the late 1900s or early 20th century. Proponents claim this society possessed wireless atmospheric energy, unified neoclassical architecture, and intentionally erased from history via cataclysms like mud floods or global wars. In reality, Tartary, Grand Tartary, was a historical geographic blanket term. Let me read that again, family. Tartary, Grand Tartary, was a historical geographic blanket term used by Europeans from the Middle Ages through to the 19th century to describe Central Asia, Manchuria, and Siberia, regions that European map makers left blank or poorly understood due to lack of direct geographic access. Come on, family. So this is why we have to be so careful while making these claims. You feel me? Because a lot of times we don't know. We just making claims, and we making these claims and then bashing the white man, making these claims and then bashing the white man, and we don't even realize that a lot of these claims we getting from the white man. And then you sit up there and say, don't trust the white man, but then listen, this be the confusion. This is why we got to make sure that we're accurate in the information that we bring out. So just like I pointed out, Tartary was a geographic blanket term used by Europeans, family, that European map makers that left behind or that left blank or poorly understood due to lack of direct geographic access, which means they labeled places that they didn't have access to, which means they were uncharted, basically. Let's get into it. Why is it considered a hoax? The scholarly consensus. Historians, cultural analysts, and digital media researchers classify the Tartarian narrative as a textbook example of pseudo-archaeology and digital era mythology. The origin of the myth. The modern globalized version of Tartaria did not emerge from historical archives, but rather from 2016. Oh my goodness. From 2016, family? Y'all telling me y'all believe something back in the 1900s, but yet we only became aware of this in 2016 via TikTok, YouTube, and Reddit. You see what's interesting when you go to, for an example, when you go to AI and you pull up information, a lot of people like to say, oh, well, there you go using the AI. AI ain't always right. But then you accumulate myths like this from YouTube and TikTok, and you don't question that, it's something wrong with that logic, family. It repurposed esoteric Russian national. It reproposed esoteric Russian nationalist. Esoteric. This is why we got to be careful with these things, family. Because y'all dealing with stuff that in another conversation y'all say y'all not rocking with. So before you say you're not rocking with something, be sure you know what it is, because you might secretly be rocking with it. You might secretly be promoting it and not even knowing it. This is why it's important to be well studied, family. Esoteric Russian nationalists. New chronology theories pioneered by figures like Anatolia Fomenko in the 1970s, which falsely claimed Russia was the center of a suppressed global empire. Which falsely claimed, family, falsely claimed Russia was the center of a suppressed global empire. Architectural critics Zach Martis famously categorized the phenomenon by noting how it maps out cultural anxieties and deep contempt with modernism. Believers looked at ornaments, 19th century Gilded Age buildings, and assumed traditional styles are inherently virtuous, while viewing contemporary architecture through the lens of meticulous cover-ups. So basically, it was a style of preference type of thing. They value the old style than the new style, right? A malicious cover-up. What structural engineers and architects say about Tartaria, right? Yes, the other day we had people coming saying, hey man, how can you fake these buildings? Hey man, how can you fake this? Hey man. But then not one of them brought up what the engineers had to say. Now, one of them brought up what an archaeologist, somebody that worked with stuff like this, have to say. They just showed you the pictures. Let's get into it, family. The core evidence used by Tartarian proponents relies on misrepresenting basic structural engineering. Historical construction methods and urban development experts break down the absolute flaws in the conspiracy's claim. When we say these are hoax and conspiracies, well, I'm not making this up. Structural engineers have talked about this. Archaeologists have talked about this. Let's get into it. The mud flood. The mud flood and submerged windows. The claim. Believers point to basement windows or doors set in partially below street levels in the 19th century cities as proof of a global mud flood that buried the first floor of pre-existing Tartarian civilizations. So what they claiming is, when we got a couple of these buildings in Baltimore as well, family. What they claiming is anytime you see a half window on the street or a half door, that was due to a mud flood. Listen to this though. The engineering reality. Structural engineers and urban historians point out that this was a deliberate 19th century civil engineering practice known as street grade rising. How many of y'all know about street grade rising? And I just want to let y'all know they do that today as well. As cities like Chicago, Seattle, and at various European capitals urbanized, civil authorities intentionally elevated the street grade by several feet to install modern sewer systems. This is what the engineers say when they go check these places out. Oh, it ain't nothing mysterious here. We clearly say they just raised the street level so they can lay some new sewer systems, some new sewage pipes. Manage sanitation and prevent actual river flooding. So basically, family, what we see is they just basically doing a reconstruction of the city, right? But people took that reconstruction of a city and then mythologized it. Oh, this is Tartaria, this is da-da-da, this is why I look like that. And whole time, family, they just revenerating the city. Y'all see how the human mind can take something so simple and blow it out of proportion when not observed correctly, when the right questions are not asked, when one is not thinking critically. Let's get into it, family. This is why critical thinking is important, family. Let's get into it. The World's Fair, we talked about this the other day as well. Temporary megastructures, the claim. Conspiracists argue that massive ornate structures built for events like the 1893 fair in Chicago World's Fair or the 1915 San Francisco Panorama Pacific International Exposition were too grand to have been built so quickly, proving they were ancient Tartarian ruins. They were saying this the other day too. That, oh, y'all see them buildings? Man, ain't no way they could have been built by regular people. They was built too quick. Merely rediscovered the architectural reality. The architectural history emphasized, let me go down here, bang, emphasized that these buildings were let me get this up my screen. These buildings were these buildings were constrained out of staff. Now, staff, family, is about to give it to us right here, is composite material made of plaster, hemp fiber, right? And you pour all over wood and iron frames. This is what staff is. It ain't no concrete like they was trying to explain. It ain't no secret technology that they was trying to explain. It got hemp fiber and plaster poured inside of wood and iron frames. They were explicitly opt to look majestic for a few months and then intentionally demolished because the material was impermanent and weather sensitive. See, they don't talk about this stuff, family. They don't talk about this. They don't talk about how the material was weather sensitive. You know why they don't talk about that? Because they don't know nothing about that. They ain't never do no research of Tartaria. They just heard the hoax and ran with it because they think it's true because they believe in aliens and stuff. It's crazy, man. This is the type of information we got to look out for. Original architectural blueprints, labor payrolls, and photographic logs of their constructions was extensively documented. Wait a minute. So everybody out here talking about Tartaria, but ain't none of y'all talking about how the World's Fair, the labor payroll was documented, the architectural blueprints was documented, the photographic logs was documented. Why y'all ain't never going to go grab none of this stuff when y'all looking for proof of Tartaria being real? I don't know. Y'all being disingenuous or y'all really just don't know. And if you really just don't know, then maybe you shouldn't be talking out the side of your neck about things you really just don't know. Let's get into it. Star forts and geometric precision, the claim. Proponents claim that star-shaped military fortifications found across the globe are wireless energy harnessing power plants built by the Lost Empire. Wireless energy harnessing power plants. This is what they're saying. That were built by the Lost Empire. Well, can we hurry up and find it? I mean, we found a couple Lost Empires, and Tartaria ain't one of them. Let's get into it. Military historians and fortification experts. I doubt if anybody that support this claim or support Tartaria ever even thought to do research on military and fortification experts to see what they say about Tartaria. Listen to this. Trace the exact evolution. It says military historians and fortification experts trace the exact evolution of the star forts, the Trans-Italiani, to the 15th and 16th centuries. They were a direct response to the invasions of mobile sieges, cannons, low thick earthland and stone angled ramparts were scientifically engineered to direct cannon fire. Oh, I apologize, not direct. This is writing a little smaller, but to deflect cannon fire and eliminate blind spots for defenders. Fully documented centuries of military engineering tactics. This is also documented, family. This is also, so why when everybody talking about Tartaria, ain't nobody talking about what's documented about these claims? Everybody just get, oh, well, you know they say this. Well, you know they say this. Well, you know they say this. Well, it's got to be possible. But don't nobody go to what's documented. And then when I go to what's documented, everybody look at me and say, Humble, you ain't supposed to be doing that. Humble, you ain't supposed to be looking that up. Humble, you believe anything that internet say. I don't know how you gather information, but I stay up to date on my information, whether I'm using a dictionary, an encyclopedia, a thesaurus, AI. I really don't like to use Wiki. They said Wiki became more credible over the years, but I just got a thing, right? A subconscious using Wiki. When I was younger in school, we wasn't allowed to use Wiki. Now, why wasn't we allowed to use Wiki? Because anybody could go in and put anything on Wiki. And so, but my thing is, if there's documented evidence of what's really going on in these places, I feel like we should look for that instead of riding with the hoax. What type of agenda y'all got going on here, man? Y'all want people to believe in aliens, believe in this, believe in that. But then when somebody like myself come and ask for the proof, y'all ain't got no proof. Y'all just got hearsay. They say, she say, he say. But if there ain't none of them experts, I don't care what they say. Come bring me an expert and tell me what they say. What research have they done? Expert quote. Science writer and researcher Brian Dunning notes that the movement thrives by manipulating, family. The movement thrives by manipulation. All of this stuff thrives by manipulation. All of it. And so this is why we gotta be on our P's and Q's, even for the ones of us out here who do the research. Because there's people out here with agendas and they just putting stuff out, hoping you fall for it. Hoping you push their information. That's that manipulation. You gotta stay aware. Stay woke. I forgot who sung that song. But stay woke, family. Stay woke. Because they scheming. They manipulating and plotting. Let's get into it. It said, Dunning notes that the movement thrives by manipulating basic historical anomalies. Oh, so they doing the same thing that the people on the other side doing, right? With manipulating scientific anomalies. They call scientific anomalies supernatural instead of just looking at it for what it is. This is the world we live in, family. This is why we got to be so careful. This is why when we in the realm of research, we got to cross-reference everything. We just can't take things at first hand. The brother asked me the other day, well, what can I bring to you that is proof that this is real? Some evidence, some archaeological evidence, some historical evidence. Like, how about some logical evidence? How about some of that? Something that makes sense. If you don't stand for nothing, family, you'll fall for anything. Let's get it. Such as temporary structures built for the 19th century World's Fair or basement windows modifying our urban street grade raising onto grandiose sci-fi narratives to feed an appetite for hidden lore over disciplined historical study. And that's what they do. That's what these people do. These people love hidden lore. They love to talk about the mysticism and the mysteries and the fantasies and the elves and the giants and the this. They love to talk about the hidden lore. They don't respect disciplined history, though. And that's the issue. Because somebody like me, I don't care what you think happened. I want to know what actually happened. Because once I know what actually happened, oh, you can't tell me nothing about what you think happened. Because I don't care about what you think. I already know what happened. And the issue is, I don't think some of these people believe that y'all family are as intelligent as I am. So this is why they talk to y'all like this. They want y'all to fall for the Tartaria is a real lost civilization. And man, you taking us backwards. You taking us backwards. I was just on, the platform. Hold on. I just came on the panel. All right, we got the brother Max.
Yo, what up? What up? What up, humble?
What up, Brody?
You know,
What
I
up,
just got
Brody?
on here real quick. What's good?
How you doing?
Doing all right, man. It's not too bad. Can't complain.
I'm
How you
pretty
doing?
much finished up with this. How much you been listening into? You got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I've been listening since you started and everything because I figured I'd hop on since it was a conversation we were having. Is pretty much a continuation of it, and I just wanted to speak on the fact that all you're doing right now is just reading verbatim what the cover story is, but you're not putting any type of your own thought into it. You're just reading reading the words and saying this is why this is the proof right here. The person who wrote this article gave you the proof, and it's like, but the whole concept is that Tartaria was covered up, which means they have to lie about it. So why wouldn't that be exactly what people claim it as being, which is the cover up? You're not doing anything to prove that what you're reading isn't the cover up. Like there's no fact checking being done or anything. You're just reading what they say the reality is. But we watched the video. What was it last night? Right, yesterday? How they showed the structures that they built. Those were not temporary structures. They showed the beams and the construction site, all of it going up. There's still probably hundreds, but at least several dozens of them still up today, likely hundreds, and they're still standing. They were built during the same time period and everything like that. So they weren't temporary structures. And then right after these world fairs, that's when all these fires in the places where these world fairs was held, there were fires in these places. They held it. I think they had one in San Francisco as well. There's the San Francisco fires. There's the Chicago fires and a few other fires all over America. I'm pretty certain all over the world, but I'm aware of the American history around that time period. And you're not doing anything to show how this is more than just a cover up, because the stuff that they're claiming doesn't even add up. It doesn't hold weight.
Can I
They're
ask
just
you a
saying,
question,
"Oh,
Matt?
yeah,
Are you an architect?
no,
Do you know any architects?
no, not that I could think of off the top of my head."
So I asked that question, right? Because architects have actually went and studied these buildings that you're saying that was really
Name
what
one.
it was. Architects really
Name
went and
name
studied
one.
this stuff.
Name
You
one
said name
of
one.
those
Hold on one
architects.
second.
Yeah,
I
name one
got
of
you.
those
Bang.
architects.
Bang. Architectural, historical. Hold on one second. The reality, is one. I just quoted one right here. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Hold on. Where he at? Do. Where he at? I literally was just reading about one too. Motherfucker, 1970. No, what's his name? Where he at? Is it this one? Hold on. Or is it up? Is it up here? Spreadsheet. What's his name? The architect. Let me hold on, because I can't find it here. I think I just read his name though. Brian Dunning. Was it Brian Dunning? No.
There was
Or
an
was it Brian?
architectural critic up there.
Yeah, that's what I thought I seen. The architect. That's what I thought I read already.
Architectural critic. But I mean, even if you find him, my follow-up question was going to be, what what are his credentials? What makes him the authority on, you know, and ultimately just to say, are you just, are you reading an article and they say architects have studied this and this is their conclusion, and you're saying that's true because the article says that architects have done the study? Or did you actually go
Well,
and look at the stuff yourself and see what these architects studied, and then you study what they studied and see how the buildings went up and how long they stood for and all of this type of stuff? Or are you just accepting what they're telling you the case is without doing
Zach
any follow-up
Mortiz, that's his
studies?
name. I apologize. So the architect name is Zach Mortiz.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
architectural critic.
yeah, Zach Mortiz. That's what I was looking. I was like, yo,
He's
where's
not
his
an
name at?
architect,
But
he's an architectural critic. Like if you are you're not a rapper, but you're a rap critic, you're a hip-hop critic. He's an architectural critic.
oh, I get that. And so
Makes a
let's look up
difference.
who Zach Mortiz is. Hold on. Let me just get this down.
Betty a Freemason too. I mean, and that wouldn't even mean anything because we're dealing with architecture, buildings and shit, and a lot of those people are all type of
I
free
said
and
Mortiz. It's
stonemasons.
Mortiz. I hate when I'm online, bro. This shit crazy. Oh, there it
And
go.
so your point though, as far as the architects go, what's the overall point that you're making as far as me
The
not being an architect and
historians,
then these architects? Yeah.
I got you. Historians, architects, construction workers. The reason I point them out is because these are people who, when once claims come out, like this be the issue I don't think people understand. Once claims come out, people then go investigate the claims. And so the people fitting for this investigation would be architects. It would be building engineers, right?
Yeah,
Because
but
they
don't
want
you
to
understand?
go and investigate the structures to see what the structures are. Now, the thing is, when they went to go investigate the structures, they didn't find no well-placed cement. They didn't find no nothing of extraordinary technology. They found hemp, and hold on, what else they find? They found that they was put together by
It was hemp and plaster and some other
hemp,
stuff that they claim.
hemp plaster. They called it staff. Staff is a mixture of hemp plaster, and they put it in iron wooden beams. So that's what it was made out of. It wasn't, and like they said, it wasn't. It said right here. It said because the material was impermanent. They didn't say it was permanent. They say impermanent and weather sensitive. So this is another reason why they knew the buildings that was there was not meant to last, because they were weather sensitive and impermanent.
Now, do you
So
get what
now
I'm
again,
saying? What? Okay.
but I was just gonna say real fast. I was gonna say again, this is not regular degular people saying this. This is people who actually study these things. And they not coming back saying the same thing they said about the pyramids, right? You know, a lot of architects went studied the pyramid, came back, yo, we don't know how they did it. They not saying this about, you know, the World's Fair or the Star Force. They going there and they're coming back and saying, okay, well, this is how it was done. We know exactly how it was done. The same thing with the Star Force, right? They like to say, oh, well, the Star Force was this and it was wireless energy harnessing power plants. But then when military historians and fortification experts go and evaluate the Star Force, they come back and say, well, wait a minute, these was just Star Force that was used in the 15th, 16th century. Well, how we know this? Well, because we studied these same Star Force over here. And we know these wasn't used for energy harnessing powers. We know what these was used for. And they look just like these. So we know what these was used for. This is what people in these fields do. You see what I'm saying? They don't just go and make guesses. Oh, I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna just make some stuff up. That's not some of them now. Yeah, hey, look, I ain't gonna say all of them. Some of them might go over there and do that because they got some agendas. But for the most part, genuine people of their field, when they go look for something, they're going to look for some sort of evidence of a claim. And if they can't find evidence of that claim, then hey, that didn't happen. You see what I'm saying? So that just be the thing with of architecture, nothing to say. Hold on one second. Oh, so that just be the thing with these things. Let's see who Zach Mortiz is an architectural critic who's written architectural critiques for Bloomberg. He's famously categorized as Tartaria phenomenon as the acorn by architecture. Nothing that is reflective culturally exists in deep content with modernism by assuming that traditional styles are inherently virtuous and contemporary structures. Let me ask this question.
Yeah, okay. I want to speak on.
Go ahead, brother. You good?
I wanted to speak on the last thing you were saying, but then I wanted to bring it to this because how you said that there's people out here who have their agendas. I was going to say, and what evidence do you have that this that you're reading isn't from a person who has an agenda? That's part of the people who have an agenda. And I was going to bring up, because I read it before you brought it back up, the Zach Mortiz guy. And that's why I said look up who name one of the architects or whatever. And this is our architectural critic, not an architect. And when you look him up, all it brings up is his connection to Tartaria, which means he didn't have any background in architecture or anything. He's just someone who was sent out there to downplay Tartaria. That's all he's connected to. But he's supposed to be a architectural critic, not even an architect, just a critic. But the only thing that he's connected to is Tartaria. So, like, can you give me someone who's credible in the field of architecture and have all these things to his credit that's not connected to Tartaria, and then what his breakdown is? Now, I'm not asking you to do that literally, because we don't need to take all the time to do that. But all I'm saying is, like, you're taking what you're reading as if that's the gospel, but you don't. Who are these people that you're reading this? Like, before 24 hours ago, if you go back 24 hours, how much of this did you know?
Oh, this is redoing. We didn't already get Tartarian
out of all the. Yeah, so just a day ago, how much of this would you have been able to bring up and just said off out of your own knowledge without bringing this up? I mean, like, oh yeah, man, they did this, and then there's a guy,
when we first
Zach,
had this
and he
conversation,
did, and then they went.
I got you. When we first had this conversation, I was having a conversation without bringing anything up. All of this information is just the information that I already knew about what was going on. You see what I'm saying? This is easy information, bro. Like right now, and if you have access to any type of tools to really find the truth about any of this stuff, you can do the same thing. You're going to get the same answers. Like, I guarantee you go study Tartaria, you're going to find the same answers I found. I guarantee.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that just because you didn't say any of this yesterday when we had a discussion on it, and you come today and you bring it up and you're reading from it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you bring it up today and you're reading from it, and then you got to search and you find who the architect is, and he's not an architect, he's just a critic and everything, which means you did 24 hours worth at the most of research on the subject, but all you did was just read this. You didn't cross-reference this with anything else. You just read this, and then you're saying, this is why we have to be critical thinkers, and this is why we have to this, and this is why we have to this. But you didn't do any of that. You just pulled up a link, and then you read it off as if that's the gospel. Well, we don't even know the people who wrote this. And so I'm telling you, like, they one of the things that they had for the Chicago Fair, right, was the remember the Eiffel, I mean, not the Ferris wheel, the world's first Ferris wheel, which was built to rival the Eiffel Tower. Where do they store and display that Ferris wheel today?
What do you mean? Where do they display that Ferris wheel today?
Yeah, like where is that Ferris wheel stored at today? Like where do you have to go and see the world's first Ferris wheel that was built? That
You
rivals
gotta
that was
go.
built to rival the Eiffel Tower.
I'm sure you have to go to London.
No, well, it was in Chicago and it was, it was huge. So it was pretty tough
Just
to move.
because something is huge, don't mean it can't be moved. When you go to Kemet, you can see whole cities move somewhere totally different. So
All right,
just
well,
because
it's not in
something is
London.
big, don't mean it can't be moved.
No, that's true. It's not in London. But it was the Ferris wheel that was built by the architect, and he built it to rival the Eiffel Tower. You know what they did with it? They
What?
destroyed it. They destroyed it. Just like they did the rest of the building. He didn't build the Eiffel Tower out of plaster. He built it to last. They had to blow it up with dynamite. So this whole, they were just temporary
The guy that
structures,
built the
and
Eiffel
that's why we
Tower
have to.
didn't build the first. What's
No, not the
Thomas?
Eiffel Tower. The guy who built the Ferris wheel. He was a different guy, and it's like guy A built the Eiffel Tower. Guy B said that Eiffel Tower ain't shit. I'm about to build something better, and he built a Ferris wheel. The first Ferris wheel. It was huge. The first Ferris wheel ever built. It was huge and everything, and it was a structure that was built to last. It wasn't like they said weather beaten or whatever the fuck. They didn't build. That's not the structures that they built for that fair. That entire fair, all these structures, it took them years. It took them like 3 years to build all the structures that they built for that World Fair, and eventually they just
So let me, if I can
destroyed
read
the
this really
majority of
fast,
it.
right? All right, so let me read this
Mhm.
really fast. The structures commonly misidentified by online conspiracy theories as remnants of lost Tartarian Empire are actually well-documented historical buildings from the 19th, early of 20th century, such as Gilded Age civic centers, state capitals, and temporary World Fair exhibition halls, right? Instead of ancient hidden civilization, these buildings were heavily studied, tested, and constructed by pioneering historical architects and civil engineers. Let me read that again just in case you missed it. Instead of an
Mhm.
ancient hidden civilization, these buildings were heavily studied, tested, and constructed by pioneering historical architects and civil engineers who left behind exhaustive paper trails, blueprints, and engineering logs. How do we know this wasn't by no race or civilization? They left behind engineering logs. They left
What is
behind
what do you
blueprints.
what do you feel like that proves? What is that proving to you in your mind? Like what do you?
What is it
Because
proving?
the
It's
tone of your
proving
voice,
we
it
know
sounds
how
like
these
you
structures
feel
were
like you're
built.
proving something. Yeah,
So
we
what it
do know how
proves
these
is we
structures
know
were
how
built.
these structures were built. And these
We
structures
do
were not built how the people that claims Tartaria is a lost civilization say these structures were built.
that's nobody's making that point. We're talking about the Chicago World Fair in 1893. I'm not saying that America in 1893 was called Tartaria. That's not
No,
what I'm
I never
saying.
said that. But you're saying
So
that
so
the
so, but you're
people
bringing
that
up the
built the World
nobody. Why
Fair.
you?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Because you're bringing in a hidden civilization. It wasn't a hidden civilization. Yeah, Americans in 1893 wasn't a hidden civilization. So what point are you proving by saying it wasn't an ancient civilization who built these buildings? We know that it was Americans, and probably other foreigners and shit and everything like that, but they did it and built it in America. It was built by Americans. It's the technology that it took to build these structures is what's being lied about. They're saying they built them out of sticks and stones that the big bad wolf could blow down. But I'm telling you, they weren't. They were built the same way as the structures that still to this day, all throughout the country, you could go and say this building, you can see it. This building was built in 1889, and it was this and this and this, and it's usually in the downtown districts where they have these buildings. In Chicago, the buildings that they showed, we watched the video. The buildings that they showed and that they built and all that, they were built the same exact way at the same exact time as these buildings that are still today. They were all built by the
Time
same
out
people.
really fast. Let me show you something. Watch this. Let me show you something. Daniel Burnham. You know who that is? John Wilborn. You know who that is? You know who they are?
No.
They are the master planners of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. They're the ones that set the blueprint into motion. They experimented with fast-track construction logistics. This is them. So here you now saying, okay, well, we know Americans built it. We know people built it, right? Daniel Birmingham and John Wilbur. Okay, we know they got the plans and we know they put together and we know they was experimenting with this. But the important part here, like you was just saying, right? The material, like you were saying, is not what literally they have logistics, right? They have planning logs, right? About experimenting with fast-track construction. They do. The people from the 1893 fair. So now this ain't speculation. This ain't what I say. This ain't what you say. This is what the people that was actually there did. And so now there's nothing you can say that's going to change what John Burnham and Daniel Burnham and John Wilburn actually did with their hands in making these plans.
I don't have to change anything that I said to still be synonymous with what it says up there for them. Yes, they're the master planners of this. They did experiment with fast track constructions, combining iron skeletons with lightweight exteriors. They did do all of that. But then when it came to building up, staff to erect massive ornate exhibition complexes rapidly. They did all that. Now, when it comes to building the structures during the World Fair, all of the things that they experimented with, and then all of the other construction work, all the shit that they experimented with, it combined to create structures that will last the test of time. Some of them made it, but other ones burnt down in fires, great massive fires. They weren't taken down right after the World Fair. Okay, all right, everybody. World Fair is over. Let's tear these buildings down. That's not how they were destroyed by fire. And then like the story of the fires being started is like something stupid, like a cow kicked over a bucket and the bucket hit a candle and the barn caught on fire and all of Chicago caught fire. Like that's the actual story. Like if you went on Gemini Flash and then they would tell you that same ridiculous story, but the source of it is just Ask Gemini. It's not. This isn't real, actual, fact verifiable shit. It's just what it's telling you. The story is. It doesn't make it the facts, and you have to use critical thinking and discernment when you're putting together the facts. They have all of these. They have a World Fair in Chicago in 1893, and they have all type of stuff that we didn't even incorporate into our society till about 30 years ago. Hoverboards, hovercraft, free energy devices, all type of. They had like a house, or they had like the castle or the palace of electricity. They had all of this futuristic shit. They weren't hosting it with just fucking rinky-dink carnival plaster buildings. It was the same pride that they put into the shit that they brought to the fair is a pride that they put into building the structures that was going to host the fair. All of it was built to last the test of time. It was all built like that, just like that, the Ferris wheel. But they destroyed the Ferris wheel just because. It didn't burn down in a fire. There was nothing. They just destroyed it like they did everything else. So when you use your discernment, the cover story is, oh yeah, they just, they was hosting the entire world. The greatest minds from all over the world were coming to showcase how great their minds were. But they just put together some half-ass shit, and then once it was over, they tore it all down. And then all the cities that hosted
conspiracy theory about a supposed Tartarian empire.
All right, before we get into that, no, go ahead, Max. You can finish off, and then I'm gonna go to Tahuti, and then we're gonna get into it.
I did.
Hey, what's up, brother Tahuti? How you doing? I appreciate you, brother Max. I appreciate you. What's up, brother Tahuti? How you doing?
Hotep family. I just got one question. Why
Yes,
should
sir.
black people value Tartaria? Why should we value that place? What's its
That's a great
significance?
question.
Like, why is it so important for it to be known based on a fair, and the fact that this comes from the Europeans during their exploration age, during their colonization and exploration age. This is a myth. So my question is, why should we value Tartaria?
Is it rhetorical
That's a great question.
or is it directed at one of us? Because I can
I
answer it
think
if
you
you.
can answer. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Brody.
Yeah, the Tartaria is important because it's a glimpse into how far we already were at that time and the extent our governments will go to suppress that information and to suppress that progress. When you realize that we could have been had electric cars, we could have been had cars that run on water, we could have been the Jetsons already by now, but the government went so far as to destroy entire cities, burn them to the ground in order to suppress that. That's relevant to humanity in general, not just black people. Black people like to exclude themselves from humanity and be their own separate thing, which is cool. But at the end of the day, humanity is holistic. And so we all got to understand that if we're being lied to by our collective governments, we as the people should feel some type of way about that.
So then, Max,
Right.
I
I
have a
understand
question.
that,
Oh, go ahead, Tony. I apologize. Go ahead.
but specifically with Tartaria, we know that's in reference to Central Asia and parts of the planet that is definitely difficult for black people to survive and maintain civilization in. So that's why I asked why that's important, why Tartaria is important. But specifically, yes, definitely the Europeans used Tartaria as a way to project how they erase certain civilizations, the history of civilizations. But we know that specifically this story is fictional, and the most recent, or narrative about it being an actual civilization comes from the internet, the age of the internet, and the conspiracy. Like, and I'm not talking
Mm-hmm.
about conspiracy as far as white collar crimes, elaborate, corporate, um, you know, racketeering and stuff like that. I'm talking about actual
Right.
like fringe narratives that come from the internet based on,
Yes.
you know, how the Europeans use a region um while they were doing their colonization and discovery. So I just wanted to say that.
Oh yeah, most definitely, Brody. See, my question is, when people challenge, when people challenge a person's, for an example, when people challenge a person's presentation or something like that, my thing is challenge it with facts, right? Don't say, oh well, this can be misleading, or this is wrong, or this is this, right? What up, Max? Welcome back. But actually challenge it with, the other side, if there is another side, you see what I'm saying, to the coin, right? Okay, if this not correct, right, then what is correct, right? What's the truth? If this is not the truth, then what is the truth? Something got to be the truth. Everything can't be a lie. You feel me? So that'd be my take on things like Tartaria. Now, family, we want to move on to another topic I want to get into today that somebody made a claim about yesterday, that the Middle East, specifically places like Canaan, Egypt, Babylon, was here in America. I'm gonna say that again, family. Yesterday there was a claim made that the Middle East was actually America. And we're going to get into that today. I was trying to put these in an actual slide so I won't have to keep going through this, but they wouldn't fit. I had word issues, and I ain't doing all that. So let's get into this right here, right? Is the Middle East located in America? A deep dive into geography, taxonomy, and cultural. Where my stuff at? And cultural integration. Let's get into it. Linguistics and toponymy, right? Confusion. The claim is geographically and historically false. I'll say that again. Now, see, this is what we were just going through with the Tartaria thing, right? Is the Middle East located in America? I told y'all this was a statement that was made yesterday. This claim is historically false. Not just historically false, geographically false. Now, why do we say stuff like that? Because we actually know where the Middle East is located, and we know where America is located. For the ones who are interested in geography, land maps, locations, land bridges. For people who are interested in that, we know that these two places are literally located in two separate places on the earth. We know they're not the same place. However, the U.S. dotted with dozens of towns named after the Middle East cities due to settlement, biblical scholars, and immigrations, right? Examples. Here's an example. Cairo, Illinois. Palestine, Texas. Right? Oh, snaps. I got you, Max.
Thank you, man. My connection. Please proceed.
All right. I got you. So an example, right? Cairo, Illinois. Palestine, Texas. Damascus, Maryland. Right? Lebanon, NH. What's NH? I don't even know what NH is. This is California right here. This is Florida. Bangladesh, California, right? Mecca. Bangladesh, Florida. Mecca, California, right? Reasons for the names: biblical romanticism, or admiration for ancient history, global trade hubs. So it's not like when we see these places in America, it's because these cultures were actually in America and America is trying to hide some stuff. These names are here in America because of theological influence. You see what I'm saying? Admiration for ancient history. This ain't got nothing to do with these people literally being from this land at all. And that's the confusion. People think, oh, well, Cairo is in Illinois, so Egypt must be in America. That makes no sense. No sense at all. We gotta think, bro. The same thing I was just talking about, this Tartaria thing. We gotta think, bro. And then we have to be able to do our own due diligence and go back and look for the research for ourselves. We can't. And then the crazy thing is, the brother said he believed it because his ancestors was telling him this stuff. And I have to ask his ancestors the same thing I was asking Max, right, about architecture, right? Are your family historians? So they know where people was actually at, and they know this? Because if they don't, then maybe you should consult one so they can then give you the proper information of how this go. Let's get into it. Cartographic.
Hey, can I piggyback off of that real quick?
Go ahead, brother Tahuti, of course.
Yeah, so while we on the topic of geography, the known conspiracies concerning geography are already known. So one of those is the orientation and the renaming of territories and land masses. So once you go beyond that, you're gonna have to pinpoint a starting point to where they actually started to tell history in reverse. And that's where that whole theory of Egypt being in America kind of falls apart. So I just wanted to add that.
No, that's facts. That's facts. Let's get into it. It says a categorical perspective, Eurocentric terminology. Again, back with these white people. We was dealing with the white people in Tartary, right? We seen how the Europeans used the word Tartary and Tartaria to describe lands that they didn't fully explore. And now we dealing with the Eurocentric terminology, listing the Middle East places here. Let's get into it. The term Middle East is a European invention formalized by British American strategists in 1902. It is relative to London, Washington, D.C., Near East, Ottoman Empire, Far East, China, Japan, Middle East, the Persian Gulf. This terminology reflects colonial discourse, not local self-definition, Arabic, Almahad. It is anchored to Western viewpoint, right? So even the term the Middle East is a European construction. And yesterday, somebody said something that was interesting in the comments. They say we give Europeans too much credit, which in some cases I explain to people, yeah, in some cases we do, right? But in other cases, I don't think we hold them accountable, right? I think we look at these things, right, as Eurocentric terminologies, right? The Europeans coming up with the Middle East. People look at that as us giving white man credit. But in fact, we're exposing Europeans by doing that. Because we're literally pointing out the fact that this was not a formalized thing by anybody else on the planet until they came along with this. So
Let
when
me
we point
piggyback
out,
off of that too, please.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so like when people say that, we know that's a cop out. That's just a psychological coping mechanism because we know, for an example, if somebody stole something from you and you point out the prime suspect and because we like that person, we say, well, you always talking about him. Why are you always talking about him? You know for a fact that I'm not confused about anything. And it's like it's just a way to not hold people accountable. So that whole way of responding is a cop out.
And so the whole summary of this, right? While it's geopolitically impossible for the Middle East to be located in America, the confusion comes into play because of the elements of what we would call the Middle East, right? Culture, footprints, towns, names, biblical echoes, and immigrant communities are prominent embodied within the United States. That's why we have this misconception, because we can look in the United States and we can see the cultural diversity. And then from this cultural diversity, we see what people will call American Indians, I guess they will call, or FBAs, right? They take that and they say, well, look, everything started over here in America. It didn't start over there in Africa. And that is some of the craziest flim-flam hogwash, craziest logic I ever heard. That's like saying, because they have a Chinatown in New York, Chinese people originated in New York and migrated to China. That's what that's what that logic is saying. Because you can find a Chinatown, because you can find a little Italy in Baltimore. Italians originated in Baltimore and they migrated to Italy. That sounds so erroneously idiotic. And then for people not even to have the logic to then go back and fact check those claims. That'd be my thing. People just be accepting anything. But then when it comes to something logical, they dismiss it. And I think it's because people love what I said in the beginning of the video, y'all. Stay woke, family. People love to stay asleep. That's the issue. People enjoy their peaceful fantasies. They're comfortable. I don't even want to say peaceful. They're comfortable fantasies. Because once they step out of that comfortable fantasy and the real life hit them, realism, brother Ashe, realism start hitting them, then they lost in the sauce. They don't know what to do. You feel me? Go ahead, brother Max.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to be rude, but I do got some pushback if I can. Because like I just feel like as far as this goes, America or Mesoamerica, Mesopotamia, I don't know. But I'm open to when I'm do you guys hear echo?
Yes, I hear you, Brody. I don't hear no echo.
All right, I'm getting the echo, but if nobody else is getting it, then I can bear with it. Damn, what was I? The echo throwing me off. Mesoamerica, Mesopotamia. I feel like when I'm in a position of damn, I don't know this, but interesting points on this side, interesting points on this side. I don't take a side. I just like to sit back and dissect what makes sense and what doesn't make sense fairly for both sides. And I just feel like there's a lot instead of just being like it's ridiculous to believe that. Let's just pump our brakes a second and just think about the psychology of someone who would believe that Mesopotamia was actually in Mesoamerica. When people decipher scriptures, you go back however many thousand years you need to go back, and then you got people that's like, oh, this is the book of Yasher or whatever the case may be, and then they describe the location of where these places were. Now, like I said, like we're going back thousands of years before we. Like if you read a book and it says this took place in Mesopotamia, you already have a preconceived notion of where Mesopotamia is because we've read history. But if you're just reading this scripture for the first time, you have to decipher where Mesopotamia is, what land they're referencing. And then you have to read what it says in the script, and then you got to go and explore and see what matches this description. And just when you actually go about it, when you read the descriptions of Mesoamerica, there are descriptions in America that match it just as well as it would in the Middle East, right? And so, like, because this place is like I said, like Iowa, Iowa can be considered the land between two rivers because it's the only state in America who's bordered by two rivers. Its eastern and western border are completely. I think it's the Missouri and some other river, whatever. But anyways, so like you're reading. When you're deciphering these things, you're reading the description and you're trying to find the land masses. These same similar land masses exist in America, just like they do in the Middle East. In the Grand Canyon, when you research the Grand Canyon, they have a lot of stuff that they've talked about in a bunch of different religions, just in the Grand Canyon. But you're not allowed to explore the Grand Canyon. It's a felony. You can't even fly over the Grand Canyon. That's a felony. And so it's just like there's a lot of things to where it's like instead of just being dismissive and telling people that they're crazy or whatever, just like let's line up the things that what are the claims for your side, and then let's look into the claims for that side rather than just saying forget what their claims are. Their overall claim is this. So the overall claim is hogwash. We don't even want to hear any explanations for anything. That's what a lot of people do to the things that they don't believe. But I think there's a lot of if you research it, and I think it'll make for a lot of interesting content if you just research and looked into the correlations between Mesoamerica and Mesopotamia. There's a lot of correlations, and it doesn't have to be the case that Mesoamerica is Mesopotamia, but it would be some good content to, instead of dismissing it, just investigate the claims. Because there's temples in the Grand Canyon that are dedicated to all type of different religions. There's like the temple of Vishnu, the temple of Buddha, the temple of all these, like it's like a dozen different religions where they have. Well, okay, it's stone structures. Let me not say temples. They're stone structures, and they say these stone structures were discovered in the 1800s. Which means if they were discovered in the 1800s, they were probably way older than that. But that's not mainstream information. What I just said about those stone structures, that's a fact. It's not disputable. It's a fact. It's not conspiracy or nothing. That's just a fact. But then all I'm saying is, well, look into that. Who put those structures there? They were there since at least the 1800s. We know they lie about our history. And when you look into the similarities between the Nile River and the Mississippi River, it's a whole bunch of parallels. Don't be so dismissive. Let's investigate some of these claims.
I feel you on that, and that be the issue, right? Because when we
I'm
do,
glad you said something. I thought I lagged out again.
Oh no, that was not, I was talking and my mic was muted. But that be the issue though. When we do investigate these things, right? We don't find what the people claim. For an example, right? When people say that it's proof in the Grand Canyon that civilizations migrated through there. And then when you go investigate the Grand Canyon or you study people who have investigated the Grand Canyon, that's not what they saying. So then that leads me to then ask the question, where does the people that are making these claims getting these claims from?
Can I make one correction?
Mm-hmm.
To what I said? Because I was just reading the chat. Dad Black said you can fly over the Grand Canyon, and he or she is absolutely correct. I misspoke on that. You can fly over the Grand Canyon, but they don't let you travel and tour it. Or I mean, you could tour it, but their tour, you can't just travel itself. But you can fly over the Grand Canyon, and I said you couldn't. So I just wanted to correct myself on that. So shout out to Dad Blacks for calling me out on that.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Go ahead, Tahuti. Yes, sir.
Hey, so you said earlier we should look into it. So a lot of people already look into it. You said it's been out since the 1800s. A big problem with that is specifically with this character named G.E. Kincaid. He was supposedly a discoverer of Kemetic artifacts and anomalies in the Grand Canyon. But when you look up the research and do all the cross referencing, even this is just surface level cross referencing, nobody knows who G.E. Kincaid is. You can't even recover what G.E. stands for. So
I missed the first part. I missed the
when you
first
make
part of
the
what you're saying. What are you saying about GE? Like what was the claim about GE that's false? Because I don't know
so
GE. What
GE
is that?
can GE Kincaid is the discoverer of a cave inside the Grand Canyon that was supposedly filled with Kemetic style artifacts. And these are supposed to be consisting of statues, weapons, mummies, inscriptions. But the problem with that is when you cross-reference an identity for Kincaid, scholarly credentials, all that, he is unknown, and this is everything to include his first initials, GE. Um, this was years ago when I done this as well. So like, to my memory, there's no person known in the archaeology community as GE Kincaid, or any scientific community name by that name. So we've looked into these things.
Mm-hmm.
What,
So something else
wait,
I
hold on,
would
wait.
like to.
But like, what G.E. Kincaid? His claim was supposed to be what? Like, what are you denouncing by saying that he's a nobody? Because I don't know who
What
G.E.
I'm
Kincaid
saying
is.
is, if you
What was he
have
supposed to
a
be?
name to go with a discovery, and then you look up all the evidence
Referencing the
that is
Grand
supposed to
Canyon
go with the discovery, yes,
and
and then
reference.
you
Okay,
look up
I
the
got a different
name
name.
to identify. Well, there's many names, but he is the
The most
main one.
prominent is Clarence. No, the most prominent.
He's the
No, he's not.
known.
He's not the main one. The most prominent is Clarence Dutton, and you can look up Clarence Dutton, and he's very he has a lot of
So
accolades.
I
He's
said
very acclimated.
one of the main ones.
I'm saying
He's
the
one of the
main
main.
one. You talk to
He's
him.
one
I've
of the
never heard
main
of him.
ones. He actually is the main person as far as the comedic artifacts being found in the Grand Canyon. So
Clarence Dutton is.
public
I've never heard of this dude. You
public
said
awareness and the narrative goes, he is one of the main ones, and he is the most frequently cited person
but he's not.
when you first look up certain things. Yeah, of course there's other
I've
scholars.
never
There's
heard
other
of him. I've
scholars
looked this
in
up.
all narratives. There's not just one scholar in,
Say his
that
name one more
the
time. What was his
ancient
name?
astronaut is GE Kincaid.
G.E. Let me see who this dude
Kincaid.
is. I never heard of him. With a K?
If I
But
may,
yeah, that's just one example though. That's just one example.
Mhm.
There's other ways, using other methodologies, to confirm that, a lot of this stuff comes from occult writing. I think y'all went over that the last show. So this is pretty much a reminder rerun. But
mhm.
that's all I want to say.
Okay, and let me read something really fast, right? And this has something to do with Clarence Dutton, right? Dutton Dutton.
Yes.
Um, so right, it's a um the name Temples is when dealing with the Grand Canyon, right? The name Temples is purely a geological title given to the 19th century geologists and explorers like Clarence Dutton. When looking out over the immense Terrence rock layered at the canyon, Dutton thought the sheer cliff towers and pinnacles resembled massive ancient agricultural monuments. So what did he do? So he started to name these monuments after ancient structures. The Hopi House, located in South Rim Village, right? The Hawava Gardens, right? He's naming these things. This is not what they're formally known. This is what he's naming them because this is what he think they look like, right?
Correct.
Let's say
Correct.
the ancestral Puemblam ruins, right? He also got structures that he resembles to Egypt, right? The Isis temple, right?
Right.
The Osiris temple, the Tower of Ra. Now, mind y'all, these are not real structures that are in this place. These are structures that he's naming. These are
No. Come on, be fair. Don't
I am being fair.
misinformation. No, the way you just said it, you said these aren't real structures. They are real structures. Those are real structures really there. But he's
Isis
naming
temple,
them. He's naming them.
So let me
He
clarify.
yeah, thank you.
Isis temple that's in the Grand Canyon is not really an Isis temple. It's a structure, right? It's a natural structure, a natural rock structure that Dunton thought looked like the Isis temple. It is. It's a natural
It's
rock
not a
structure.
natural, no, not a natural rock structure. That's the significance of these things. It isn't natural. They were the rock structures are set up, and they weren't set up in a natural way. That's the whole point about them. But the point that you're making is correct. They weren't. It wasn't named by the people who made the structures. It wasn't. We built this structure and we named this structure the Isis Temple because it's a dedication to Isis. That's not the case. You're true and correct to say he just came along, saw the structures, had no idea who built them or how they got here or anything like that, and he named them himself. That's the point you're making, and that's true.
Okay, so now let me correct you, right? Is the Isis Temple in the Grand Canyon a natural rock structure? Yes, the Isis Temple is entirely a natural rock structure, which means nobody built it, nobody carved it, nobody made an actual temple. It's a natural rock structure. The reason it's called the Isis Temple, like I said earlier, is because Dunnington thought it resembled the Isis structure. So he named it the Isis structure. This is a natural rock formation. So that's what I'm saying. We gotta read these things, man.
Critical thinking and discernment is what I'm talking about. Because this dude Sutton, he's a geologist, and he's been all over the world studying geology, and he was an army officer, right? So he goes to this continent. Oh, the Isis Temple. That's what the Isis Temple looks like. Oh, that's tight. Then he goes to this continent. Oh, that's the Krishna Temple. Okay, that's what that looks like. That's tight. And then he goes all over the world, all these temples, and then he goes to the Grand Canyon. And you're telling me that just naturally, they just formed themselves this way. All these different temples built themselves to look like different temples from around the world. This looks just like the Isis Temple over in Egypt. I don't know how this naturally came about, but it did. That was crazy. Oh, fuck. Even crazier than that, there's a Krishna temple. This looks exactly like the Krishna temple in India. That's even crazy. Damn, two temples that naturally form themselves to look exactly like temples. That's way on the other side of what the fuck is it? A third one? A fourth one? So you're telling me that all these rock formations just naturally made themselves look like temples from other continents, and they just did that? Nobody built them. They just came to be that way, all in one place, the Grand Canyon.
So here's the thing about that, right? These rock structures are not temple. I just read that
they're not, but they reminded him of. Why did they remind him of these temples?
Hold on 1 second, I got you. So I just told you that the title of temple was placed upon these structures. So these structures are not temples. That's number one. These structures are not temples. That's number one. Number two, he felt as though they resembled. He felt as though they resembled. That's a subjective opinion. That's not nothing. That's nothing empirical.
Yeah, but the subjective opinion of an actual geologist, a professional geologist, an army geologist holds more weight than just a random civilian's subjective opinion. And he's saying subjectively, all these, he's not saying like, damn, that's a unique rock formation. That one is too. That one is too. I'm gonna just name them all different things. He's saying this one specifically reminds me specifically of some shit I seen all the way on the other side of the globe. This one reminds me specifically of a different specific. He wasn't just he's saying these. How do these rock formations look exactly like formations that? Why do these rock formations look like temples? Built temples, structured temples that were built by humans. These structures were built by humans all over the world, but now you have these rock formations that they're formed in a certain way that to where it reminds me specifically of this Egyptian temple. Look, if he would have named all of the different rock formations, different Egyptian things, then you'd be like, oh, okay, he just has Egypt on his mind. But he gave them specific, like, no, this reminds me of India. This reminds me of Africa. This reminds me of Australia. This reminds me, and he's a geologist for the army. He's not just a civilian. So he's actually applying mathematics, science, army shit, government shit. And these are the conclusions that he's drawing.
Hey, real quick, family. Did he submit a paper, or did any other historians or archaeologists or scholars take his interpretation and advance it in the study of history?
No.
I'll be short in answering your question.
Everybody in geology,
yes, he did,
that this man made these or named these structures. Number one, they're not temples. So
he was in the army.
These structures after temples that he was influenced. Same thing John Ballou Newbarrow did with the Owaspie Bible, right? He put Christian figures in the Owaspie Bible because he had Christian influence. Why did this man name these temple or these rock structures after all of these temples? Because he had influence. He traveled to these places. He liked these places. When he came to the Grand Canyon, because he felt something. He felt. He ain't say, "Oh, I measured, I looked, I examined, I did some experiments. This is what I got." He felt that they resembled. He didn't even say that they matched. That they.
You would say that about a civilian, humble. Come on, humble. You're a practical guy. You would say that about a civilian. You would say that about a civilian. He's not a civilian. He's not a civilian, humble.
Watch this.
He was a geologist for the army. The army.
Hold on 1 second. I got you. Watch this. If I see a red XG5 Chrysler, and then I see a red PX40 Benz, and they got the same body shape, am I correct in calling that Benz a Chrysler because it reminds me of the Chrysler? Absolutely not. They're still two different brands of cars, even though one resembles the other. We see this all the time.
But look, if I'm just an 18-year-old trying to get my own, I've never driven, I just want my own new car. I just want a car. I've never had one. Then that's what my opinion will be worth. But if you're an actual car manufacturer and you say that, it's different than me saying that looks like that. If you're a car manufacturer and you say that, then maybe there needs to be a government investigation on if maybe somebody stole some technology because the manufacturer says this looks identical to that. The manufacturer says it, not just a civilian who don't know shit about cars. I'm telling you,
we just said no other experts in history agrees with the geologist feeling that he thinks that the rock formations look like temples. We just went over that. No other archaeologist agrees with that. He didn't advance it in a paper or in a journal.
Yes, he did.
You know what I'm saying? So
Tahuti, your question was that.
All right,
did he do that?
So bring that up. You
can't be in the look. You can't. If you're Clarence Dutton, you can't be in the army and then years later we're researching what you claimed about the Grand Canyon without you turning in papers to your superiors claiming what you saw, what your assessment is. So he did turn in papers saying all of this. Whether or not the army decided to publish it is a different thing, because like we said, we're all dealing with what from Tartaria to this, we're dealing with the claim on the side of, the claim on y'all side is everything is what they say it is, and you ain't got to do no conspiracy investigation. But the claim from the other side is the claim. Okay, yeah, I did. I'll admit to that, and then you could clean it up. But I know I just wanted to real quick. But the claim on the other side is we don't accept what they're telling us the truth is. So when you come with what they say the truth is, by default, our thing is they are lying about that. And then it becomes, can you prove that they're not lying about that? Because all I could do is show you, look, this is what this dude, Clarence Dutton, he went, he explored, he's an army geologist, bro. You can't. Do you know the difference between a school geologist and an army geologist? The credentials, right? So if you're in the army and you're a geologist, and you come and you say, damn, this monument, this structure reminds me of this, and that, you got to fill out an army report and everything. And if they tell you that you could name it after these things, it's because they validate what it is that you're claiming. Like, okay, yeah, it is valid. You have to go through superiors for all that. So don't dismiss the fact that he did that. Don't dismiss that. He did that. Or else we wouldn't be able to research.
This is how, and I think this
is
the issue that a lot of us have, right? A lot of us have to learn how to do research, right? So you just don't go look up something, right, and say, okay, well, what is this, right? So watch this. I'm gonna show you, right? Are there any structures in the Grand Canyon that relate to the Indian or any other culture, right? What does it say up here, y'all? It say yes. The Grand Canyon features several geological structures and man-made buildings that explicitly relates to Indian Hinduism, Native American, other geological, right? Connections to India, Hinduism, and Eastern deities. Watch this, y'all. Watch this. In the late 19th century, now mind y'all, the late 19th century, right? The 18th and the 19th centuries is called what? We've been talking about this for 2-3 days, right? The Victorian spiritual age. So everybody is being influenced by this spiritual age. Everybody want to be connected to something of these old ancient civilizations and these advanced civilizations. This is what's going on in the late 18th, late 19th century, right? Clarence Dutton, a U.S. Geological Survey explorer and a writer, surveyed the Grand Canyon, struck by the immense majestic scale of the canyon, massive rock butts and masses. He felt. See, this is the concluding factor to me. It don't say he did experiments. It don't say he studied. It don't say he excavated. It said he felt, which make this assessment purely subjective, right? He felt they resembled. He didn't even say that he felt they matched. He didn't say that he felt that they were the same, or he felt that he said he felt they resembled, which means something, and let me clarify this, something can be similar and not the same. Let me say that again, family. Something can be similar and not the same. When something resembles something else, you know how people used to tell you, you resemble your father, you resemble your mother, you resemble your sister resemble your grandmother. They resemble each other. That doesn't mean that they're the same. He felt that y'all ever had a complete stranger? I used to have complete strangers walk up to me and say, you know what, you look just like Nelly. But that don't mean that I'm related to Nelly because I look like Nelly, because I resemble Nelly. That don't mean I'm related to Nelly, or I'm his twin, I'm his cousin, I'm anything of that nature. People have their subjective opinions and they place them on the world. And that's okay. What's not okay is when you try to push that off as objective truth or objective reality. That's what's not okay. So the fact that he felt that they resemble massive Asian prodads and temples, right, is something to me like, okay, you can feel that way, but then don't go and try to tell these people that's what these are, right? Now listen, he and subsequent surveyors began naming several prominent natural rock formations. Let me read that again, right? So won't nobody get this misconstrued that they were actually temples, right? Surveyors began naming several prominent natural rock formations, which means these were rock formations, not temples, but rock formations after deities. So they started naming rock formations after deities. This don't mean that the Hindu people was actually in a Grand Canyon. I don't understand where they get this logic from. Because somebody felt as though this resembles something of the Hindu tradition, this mean that the Hindus was in the Grand Canyon. Do that make sense to you, Tahuti? I just need to know I'm not tripping.
Not at all. And I just want to clean up our stance, since it's known that our stance was misrepresented in the first place. So let me clean it up. So first, like, we're well aware that the history is being hidden and suppressed. But the difference is one, we're reading things to discover that the history has been suppressed. And I asked that question about the paper. Have he published papers? Not to, you know, say that whether he did or didn't is the end all be all, but we one have to read that paper, know how other experts within the fields, within the respective fields felt about that paper, and then we go from there. A lot of times we stop our analysis at certain places, and then and when we do, we end up making the incorrect conclusions. So it's about where you stop your analysis, and from the jump where you begin your analysis, and the methodology that you take when you're doing your research, which includes reading. You know, if we come up on something and we can't verify a place or a region to be, you know, known to black people based on certain things that we find within the first few sentences of it, then we know that, oh, this is just, you know, something that they just made up and attributed in this arena versus a conspiracy against, you know, trying to misrepresent black people and hide African and black contributions to civilization. So we know that there's a conspiracy. That's the difference.
And so let me back to this really fast. I got you, Max. Let me get back to this really fast, right? So, and then I was like, well, somebody named the rock says that this is completely correct. They are strictly natural geological formations, eroded rock butts, massifs, and canyons, rather than actual human-built structures. The name temple is purely a geological title given by the 19th century geologists and explorers like Clarence Dutton. When looking out over the immense trans-rock layers and the canyon, Dutton thought that the sheer cliff towers and pinnacles resemble massive ancient architectural mountains or monuments. I apologize. Right? So again, he's using that word. He thought that these towers resembled. He never said these towers were. Now let's go back down here, right? And what and let's go down here to Tahuti, right? Because Tahuti asked a great question. Did this brother publish any paper? Right? Oh, and this says, Kate, I want to know if Dunning published the paper. Right? Hold on. Let's see if Dunning published the paper. Let's see. I hate when I'm online because then my stuff be moving all slow. That's crazy.
The answer is right. The answer is already on there, but yeah, just look that up real quick.
All right, so his name is Dutton, right? It looks like you might mean Dutton, whose name sometimes mixed up. Dutton. It say yes, he published a semi-scientific work on geology and naming the Grand Canyon. In 1882, he published his landmark monograph titled Tartaria. Oh, this is another dude.
Like,
hey, yo, get out of here, bro.
How could he not? He was in the army. Why would he not publish what he found? He's publishing findings. Look, real quick, Humble. I didn't connect Tartaria to the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon came up when Mesoamerica and thing. But what I said yesterday was that it's all in. If all these conspiracies are connected, then the government will have to lie about all of it. We didn't connect Clarence Dutton to Tartaria. We were talking about Mesoamerica and Mesopotamia, but now it comes all back around the Grand Canyon and Tartaria. He's researching things, so he goes to the Grand Canyon. He's an army. What's that?
He published a monograph titled Tartaria History of the Grand Canyon District.
He worked for the army. He could go all over the world, and this is before the internet, 1800s, before the internet. So he's not just on the internet looking up conspiracy theories. He's not on the internet seeing what does an Egyptian temple look like? In order for him to say this rock formation reminds me of this, he would have to go to these places and see certain things that say, damn, this is a very unique attribute of this place. And then he goes to the Grand Canyon and he sees all these unique attributes of all these different places, all in the Grand Canyon. So just real quick, I wanted to address two things, like some comments in the chat, because Smash asked, first of all, he put like Nelly with a gang of laughy faces.
That was for me, bro.
I share that sentiment. I thought that was hilarious too. Like Nelly, bro, for real. But anyway, but then he also said, he says, he asks, is America? Am I claiming that America is in the Middle East? And that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is, let's have the discussion without ridiculing either side, because it's neither side is ridiculous. There's valid claims being made on both sides. So we should just have an open discussion on what makes the most sense on each side. And so on the side that I'm saying, when it comes to this dude Dutton, he's in the army. They take shit serious. If he came and it was just some random rocks and he was like, oh, this reminds me of India, this reminds me of Europe, this reminds me of this and this and that, and he went back to the army with that, and they looked at these structures and was like, what the fuck are you talking about? They would have never, we wouldn't know who this dude is. He's in the army. He's going back to his general saying, hey, remember when we was over here? You see this rock formation? Looks just
and that's
like
what I mean with
so
that,
let's name
that
it that.
question that you posed to the Gemini. That's what I mean right there. So can you go over that, Humble? Can you read over that?
Oh yeah. So is this monograph taken serious in the field of architecture? It say no. Clarence Dunning, Tartaria history of the Grand Canyon district is not studied or taken seriously in the field of architecture because it is not an architectural text. Instead, it is a foundational, world-renowned masterpiece in the fields of geology, and physical geography. Right. However, looking at why books sometimes come up in architectural or design discussions reveal fascinating intersections. It's a geological architecture. Dutton used architectural metaphors describing natural butts and temples as temples, cathedrals, and towers because he wanted to convey the immense man-made looking scale. Man-made looking. He didn't say they were man-made. He said they were man-made looking scale of the rock layer. Influence on park architecture. While the book itself is a science and survey report published by the U.S. Geological Survey, the way Dutton and his illustrator Thomas Moan romanticizes the canyons deeply influential later architects and park planners. It's a mariculture work. When architectural mariculture designed the buildings on the Grand Canyon South Rim, like the Hoppy House or the Desert View Watchtower, the Bright Angel Lodge. What is this? In the early 20th century, she drew inspiration from the natural geography of the canyon and Native American history, blending her structures into very landscape and Dutton's writing popularized. In short, architecture do not look to Dutton's monograph for building techniques or design theories. It is strictly a landmark earth science landscape literature. Right? Now watch this, right? Well, basically this already, because the point we are making here, and I think Tahuti is making the same point, is the fact that these man-made looking scales of rock layers are just that, rock layers. And people that are trying to, again, throw the cloak over the truth, right, with a bunch of confusion, and but these are temples. He's not going to say they look like temples if they wasn't temples. No, they're rock layers. And so this is what people also try to do, right? People also try to, like, it's crazy, bro. It's just crazy. What people also
let me chime in real quick.
Go ahead, Tahuti.
This all stems from one, how we don't want anything to do with Africa, and two,
how we just don't want to read. Reading is a vital part of doing research, right? And obviously, it's not just reading. You have to actually, yes, like the brother said, discern and use logic. But you have to actually read into things to know that, hey, while he did publish a paper, nobody who has expertise within the respective fields took it serious enough to advance it into the museums, into, peer reviewed papers, whatever they want to do on the European side. So I
Because
just
they
want to
know he
land my
was
plane
making
with
it
that.
up. They know he was making it up.
Look, all I'm saying is this: you're on your side. You're saying what you're saying is true, and the other side is pseudo, and you shouldn't believe the other side. What I'm saying is either side could be true. You shouldn't dismiss either side instead of just saying, "Oh, he was just a army thing who didn't know what he was talking about." How about we say, "Well, what actual structures did he see? Is there anything online? Is there any pictures on the internet that shows these temples, these rock structures that he labeled temples, and then we could judge for ourselves with our own intellect and blah blah blah?" But that's not what you're doing on y'all side. You're just saying the internet says this, and that's what the truth is. All you gotta do
Well,
is
if we gonna look for a picture, we gonna just go to the internet anyway. See, that's the thing. We can't pick and choose how we want to use this thing we call the internet. Oh well, we just
you
look
can.
at
You absolutely
pictures,
can.
and
That's
if we
actually
just
what you're
look at
supposed to do.
pictures and we judge for ourselves, well, we're not archaeologists, so we don't know what we're looking at, right?
But you can know
So
if
the
it's an
best way
authentic
to
photo
figure
or
out
not.
what you're looking at is to go do deep dive research into what these things are. Right, so we can't just be out. And here's the thing to that as well, Max. There's a law in nature called the law of non-contradiction, which means two opposing truths or two opposing facets cannot be true at the same time. So when you say, okay, well, instead of writing this off and then accepting this, or writing this off and accepting that, why not leave the door open for both to be true? Because it's impossible for both to be true. Either one or the other is true. They both can't be true. If this is true, then this is false. If this is true, then this is false. They both can't be true because that's a contradiction.
Humble, are you trying to segue into this quantum science conversation that I've been wanting to have for you for forever? Because when you say something like that, that's exactly where you take it. You take it to two things can't be true at the same time. When we get on the quantum level, that actually absolutely can be true. But if you're not trying to take it to a quantum level, what I'm saying, I'm not saying that both can be true at the same time. I'm saying that one of these are true, but instead of accepting one side and just dismissing the other, let's analyze what can be true about both sides. Not accepting either as the truth, just analyzing, okay, well, this side got a good point when they say this, as I look and I research into that. But also this side has a good point when they say this and they research into that. And the more research you do into both sides, being unbiased, looking at both sides as neither one of them is right now, but once I determine which one it is, that's what it's going to be. When you research into both sides with that same unbiased, you'll get to the highest truth. But when you just say, well, this will make sense to me, so anything coming out the other side, I'm just going to consider incoherent because it doesn't make sense to me, that's when you open the door to being wrong. I'm not saying that you are wrong. You could be completely right about a specific subject, looking at it that way, but you open the door to being wrong. You can be right, but the door is open to being wrong because you don't want to analyze the other side and see what could be true about it.
And
let me address something real quick.
Go ahead, Tootie.
Yeah, so like you brought up some interesting things, which actually would trigger looking into, because all of this happens in the same area where we know that the military has a lot of their equipment and technology. So we can kind of start a hypothesis of why we even have this narrative of the ancient Egyptians being in the Grand Canyon in the first place, and how a general has this a military, or not a general, but a military geologist has this idea that the Grand Canyon is this and that. But you begin to see how it plays into the Grand Canyon formation, how it begins to have restricted areas, and in combination with the military occupation within that area, not specifically just the Grand Canyon, but areas surrounding the Grand Canyon, you can begin to see why, what was, that military geologist involvement, all this other crazy crap, and why it would be a conspiracy or a distraction per se.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of reasons that you posing that as a question, you posing all these questions lets us know that you haven't looked into this as much as you should.
How much should I?
Well, you should. You're passionate about it, so, and that's what I'm saying. You're passionate.
I'm passionate. Anything that I'm dealing with in the moment, I'm gonna be passionate about, just because that's how I live my life. But it's not something that that's like not even in the top triple digits of things that affect my life directly. And the things that affect my life directly, that's what I'm like actually actively passionate about. I just love this channel. We have great discussions with very intellectual people, so I love it. I love Humble. I'm just meeting you tonight, Tahuti, and you seem like a very intelligent person. I love these discussions.
Facts. I appreciate that, brother Max.
That's what it's all about, man. I've never come on here trying to make anybody feel any type of way. I've just come on here just to discuss and see how high we could get on this pyramid we're trying to build.
Same. I appreciate that, bro, because I always have to remind people when y'all get up, like whenever I'm on these panels, right? Whether I'm on this panel, another panel, whenever I'm in the building, and information is going to get spread around. And I don't come to just pacify people. I'm not saying this in no arbitrary way, y'all. I'm not saying this in no assaulting way. But I'm just saying, when I don't come to pacify people. I come to go head to head. You see what I'm saying? Because when people bring their worldviews, right, or even their thoughts, right, their frameworks to the table, right, a lot of information get exposed. And I'm not saying in a bad way, but I'm saying a lot of information gets shared, whether, people, because on the outside, people are agreeing, people are disagreeing, people are looking at things, people are going to go do their own research. You see what I'm saying? So the more information we can get out there for people to go look up, whether it's right or wrong. You see what I'm saying? I come up here, I pop my chops, but I do that because just to keep it entertaining. I love sharing information. I love debating. I love getting it in. And so I don't ever want nobody to think that, oh, this brother Humble don't like us. This brother Humble always bang on this person because he don't like them. No, a lot of times I bang on people because I know they're going to bang back. I ain't no bully now, and I ain't going to be punching up on somebody that ain't going to fight back. You feel me? So these intellectual sparring sessions and discussions, I love them. You feel me? And like I always tell people, after the sparring session is over, you see what I'm saying? Once we get off that court, hey, we shake hands and we let bygones be bygones. We go get a beer, smoke a blunt, do what we do, and you feel what I'm saying? So whoever come up here with me, I don't ever want nobody to feel like, oh, this brother just always busting my chops or this, that, and the third. And this is why y'all see me go at everybody, right? I don't got no favorites. You see what I'm saying? I go at everybody. And it's because I'm the type of person you can't tell me just anything. You see what I'm saying? I'm a type of person, if you tell me something, I'm going to go research that. And then I'm going to come bring you back the research that I found. You see what I'm saying? So, and I think more of us who consider ourselves intellects need to operate in that manner. Because a lot of times on these panels, people come up, you'll present something, and a person will come up and be like, no, that's wrong. But they don't have no reason on why that's wrong. They'll just keep saying, no, you wrong for thinking like that. And it's just like, wait, what? Okay, so how should I think? Okay, so what is the evidence for this? Okay, so what is the position for this? You see what I'm saying? So when we get up here and we do intellectual battle, family, I want y'all to know that it's all out of love, it's all out of fun, and it's all out of educating our people. Y'all feel me? And with that message, y'all, we gonna move on to the next session. This is gonna be our last session for the night.
Can I piggyback off of that before we transition?
Go ahead, brother Max.
Because with everything that you just said, you know, keep that in mind. Because this is what I had to, you know, had to accept for myself, or you know, kind of. This is how I look at it. On here, the Coliseum of Arguments, it's like the WWF back in the day when it was the WWF and not the WWE. If it's the anybody who watches the WWE, I'll just assume it's the same way or whatever. But for those, the OGs that know real entertainment, Raw is war type WWF shit. When you grew up watching it as a kid, you really thought for sure the Undertaker hated Vince McMahon, like Stone Cold Steve Austin hated Vince McMahon, and The Rock hated all, but like they were all homies. You know, they maybe had like individual beefs or whatever, but at the end of the day, the shit that we saw as viewers was a show that they was putting on, and they was talking all types of stuff about each other and stuff like that, but it was for the ratings of the show. And so like I'm like, okay, so when I come in here, that's pretty much what we're doing. You know, people come in here, they talk very abrasive and stuff like that, but it's because he's The Rock, and you're looking like X-Pac, and you look like you're due for a people's elbow, your jabroni and shit like. So I don't take it personal. I feel like people shouldn't take it personal, no matter how abrasive it gets. Because with the WWF, after they had their match and they said all this, they would go backstage and they would kick it. And they were like, man, that was crazy what you said and this and that. You really got me, bro. I think you really cut me on that one. And oh, my bad, bro. We don't get that. We don't get to, okay, the show's over. Let's all kick it and have a brew together. And like, let's get back to how we actually feel about it. So you have to just understand that that's actually what it is without the behind the scenes camaraderie. We should just know that that's there. We have it's not a behind the scenes camaraderie. It's a in the chat camaraderie. The people who show up in the chat for every stream or every other stream or whatever, we should all know that we have that same WWF camaraderie. And when we get on stage, we're putting on a show, and we're putting forth how we really feel. And if I just have to call you a hoe or whatever to get my point across, just know it was for the show. And you know, if we need to have a behind the scenes conversation outside of this, then we can have it. But I just appreciate the fact that you guys put on a shout out to A1, shout out to Oli. Shout out to you, Humble, because you guys know how to maintain a place that has a great mix of decorum and that entertaining raw is war type stuff that we want to, you know, we need that fixed. So that was my little monologue for tonight. So you can take it from here wherever you want to take it. I appreciate you letting me have the stage.
Most definitely, brother Max. Now I appreciate everybody in the comments. I appreciate the family for pulling up, you know, showing some love. You know, I really do appreciate y'all. I appreciate Brother Tahuti for coming up to the panel. Of course, you, Max. And once again, Brother Max, I appreciate these things, right? Because it allows us to sit down and have real conversations. And it also allows us to sit down and show the world that the melanated community is not all about drama. You see what I'm saying? People like to watch us on YouTube and other TV shows because they like to see the drama between us. But then when they see us cooperating and on the same, you see what I'm saying, we on the same level, on the same playing field, and we going the same way, that's when things get dangerous. Because now people looking like, hold up, who is these people? I was just watching Malcolm X last night, and one of my favorite scenes is when they send Brother Johnson to jail, and Malcolm X rounded up all them people, and he walked down to the jail cell. He's like, yeah, we demand to see Brother Johnson. And he's like, you ain't saying nobody. So I suggest you look out the window. He say, who they supposed to be? They brothers of Brother Johnson. See, they don't like, they like, hold up. At the end of that scene, the white police was like, yo, that's too much power for one man. That's how they look at us. Yo, that's too much power for them. What we gotta do about that? We gotta do something about that. That's too much power. And so I love to see this unity of melanated people, even that, whether we agree, whether we disagree, the fact that we can come together and have these conversations respectfully is what matters. You see what I'm saying? And with that being said, we gonna move on. This is gonna be our last segment of the night, family. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and run an ad, and then we're gonna get back to it, family. We're gonna get back to it.
Let's pause the noise for a second, because if you're still here right now, you're already different. Not everyone gets this. Not everyone understands real debate, real scholarship, real intellectual smoke. But you do. This is Coliseum of Arguments. This is Titans Debate League. And what happens here doesn't survive on algorithms. It survives on the people who believe in it. When you support through Cash App, you're not just donating. You're fueling the arena. You're the reason we can bring in high-level guests. You're the reason we keep unbiased judges. You're the reason these debates stay sharp, fair, and uncompromised. This platform is built by thinkers, sustained by supporters, protected by the ones who know value when they see it. If this show has ever sharpened your mind, has ever entertained you, or has ever challenged what you thought you knew, then Cash App is how you say, keep this going. Not everyone contributes, but the ones who do, they're part of what makes this real. Coliseum of Arguments, Titans Debate League, powered by the people who get it.
My heart is bleeding in a pool of blood, I'm drowning. Yeah, my heart is bleeding in a pool of
Hold on, don't pop back up there. My laptop got slow, so it might pop back up. All right, good it did. All right, and with that being said, family, we're gonna get into our last segment of the night before we close out. This right here, we're dealing with worldviews, right? People tend to believe all worldviews are religious, right? But what they don't understand is all worldviews are not religious, and we're gonna get into that right now, right? And we're gonna see the difference between a religious worldview and a non-religious worldview, right? And y'all gonna, and as y'all already see on the panel, we're gonna dive a little deeper into why this is so important. Right, so let's get definitions. Religious worldview, an interpretive framework built upon the premise of a transcendent, sacred, or supernatural reality. That premise of a that premise of a transcendent, sacred, supernatural reality supersedes the purely physical universe, incorporating the divine, sacred texts, rituals, practices, and overreaching moral and cosmic order. This is what a religious worldview looks like, family. So if you know anybody that talks about a transcendent being or transcendent beings that exist outside of what we call reality, time and space, right? People that talk about their sacred texts, right? People that talk about the cosmic order, right? Rituals, practices. People that talk about those things, those are religious worldviews. When you hear people start talking about angels and gods and demons and hell and heaven, that's called religious language. Now let's get to non-religious worldview. An interpretive frameworks that operate independent of religious dogma. Let me read that again for the people in the back who didn't quite catch it. An interpretive framework that operates independently of religious dogma, deities, or supernatural realms, locate in knowledge, meaning, and value exclusively within the observable, empirical universe. So this is what a non-religious worldview looks like. They don't utilize religious dogmas, they don't talk about deities, and they don't talk about the supernatural realms. Right? So now, why is this important, family? Because as y'all know, I'm Humble Mystic the Naturalist, right? And I got a debate coming up with brother Cosmon, right? Representing faithism, right? Which is methodology being the Owaspy Bible. And so we're going to be discussing which of these worldviews or frameworks are most like a religion. He say naturalism is a subjective belief, and I say Owaspy is just a write-off of a religion. And so we're going to get into this, and we're going to see what make each category what it is. Let's get into it, family. Naturalism, classification, non-religious worldview. Let me say that again, just in case, because I know he's going to come back and watch this video. Naturalism, non-religious worldview. So, Cosma, you know, when you go back and you watch this, I hope you go back and watch your presentation that you did on naturalism being a subjective belief, because you all wrong on that, brother. All wrong. Let's get into it. Specifically, a secular metaphysical worldview. Why? Ontology. Naturalisms assert that the physical nature, matter, energy, space, and time is all that exists. It explicitly rejects the supernatural, divine intervention, and immaterial souls and miracles. Epistemology. Knowledge is derived exclusively through scientific inquiry, empirical evidence, and logical deduction. Scientism, empiricism. Scientism, empiricism. Conclusion. Because it intentionally denies transcendent powers or sacred revelation, it forms the classical archetype of a non-religious materialist worldview. Now let's go to Owaspy. Owaspy, faithism, classification, a religious worldview. Faithism, a religious worldview, family. I don't be making stuff up when I be telling y'all that Brother Cosmo be practicing a religion, even though he tell y'all he don't. Specifically, a new religious movement, syncretic theistic worldview. Why is this? Origins of Sacred Text, Owaspy, a new Bible that was published in 1882 by John Bailey Newborough, who claimed it was produced via automatic writing guided by divine angelic spirits, theology, and cosmology. Faithism explicitly teaches the existence of a supernatural, of a supreme creator, Jehovah, alongside a complex hierarchy of angels, spirits, cosmic heavens, and spiritual dimensions. That's supernatural, family. That's religious. And see, Cosmo won't ever come up here and talk to y'all about the angels. He'll never come up here and talk to y'all about the automatic writing, the cosmic heavens, right? The spiritual, he'll never come talk to you about that stuff. He'll tell you, oh, that's all a part of the natural. He'll try to cover it up, put some flavor on it for you to make it seem like it's something that is really not. And he know why he's doing that. He's doing that because he don't want you to tell him, you want me to give up one religion for another. So he trying to make his religion as distinct as possible. It doesn't matter how distinct you make it, it's still a religion, Cosmo. It's still a religion. Socio-ethical practices. It prescribes scientific religious doctrine, spiritual progression after death, vegetarianism, and communal living devoted to serve the Creator. This is a covenant, family. And I'm going to say it again. I don't know why Cosmo didn't tell y'all to be a faithist. You got to enter a covenant with Jehovah. Just like to be a Christian, you got to enter a covenant with Jesus. To be a Hebrew, you got to enter a covenant with Yahweh. To be a faithist, you got to enter a covenant with Jehovah. He won't tell you that, though. Conclusion. Because his framework relies completely on supernatural revelation, not empirical evidence, right? Not observation, not testifiable, not falsifiable evidence, but the supernatural revelation. Divine beings, an afterlife, and a supreme deity, or Owaspy/faithism, is undeniably, I don't care how much you deny it, Cosmo, is undeniably a religious worldview. And so this is something else that we have to be careful of, family, because like I said earlier, right, just like the Tartaria thing, right, and also just like the Middle Eastern America thing, right, there's people who want to stray away from the status quo so far, but they just want that slither of attachment, right? Christians who denounce Christianity but still read the Bible and say, oh, I don't look at the Bible like a Christian. They want to separate themselves from Christians, but they still believe if they don't follow what God said, they're going to hell. Religious. You see what I'm saying? And so these things are important because these people will come up here and try to flim-flam you and make you believe that they're creating some new philosophy or some new philosophical framework or something that can free the minds of the melanated people. They're always coming up here trying to use this 19th century Victorian spiritualist ideology to further sway the people away from truth. That's what they do. I guess that's what they do. You feel me? And family, I did this today, you know, just so we can have some content. Let me stop sharing this. I did this today just so we can have some content, you know, something to talk about. I know it was some people that wanted to come up the other day that didn't get a chance, right? And you know, y'all came through today. Of course, I was gonna give y'all a chance to come up. I appreciate everybody in the comments. Smash, you know, you my Brody. We don't always agree on everything, Smash. You know, we don't always agree on everything, but you still the bro. You still welcomed up on a panel. You see what I'm saying? You still cool. My only issue with some of y'all is we have to keep the decorum. And I get it. This is not y'all platform. Y'all don't own this platform. So whether it get flagged or not, that's not really on y'all. You see what I'm saying? But there's people who do operate this platform, such as myself, such as Quantum, such as, you know, of course, Brother A1. You know, this is his platform. So, and you know, let me say this, because Brother A1 always like to tell us that although this is his platform, in a roundabout things, this is our platform. This is all of our platform, right? And so while it's being all of our platform, all of us, me, Quantum, A1, we all are responsible for the decorum that's being held on this panel, right? And so, and sometimes it's like school, right? Like I said before, it's like the substitute teacher, right? Sometimes people see me, they see Quantum, they think we the substitute teachers. Oh shoot, that ain't one, so I'm gonna come up there and do what I want to do. And we gotta put a halt to that before it even gets started. So that'd be my only issue. You see what I'm saying? I don't ever have nobody coming up. I don't ever have an issue with anybody coming up here. I don't ever have an issue with anybody challenging what I'm saying, right? As long as we can keep the decorum mutual and as long as we can progress in the conversation, hey, ding ding, it's go time. You know, that's how I look at it. Far as debates, hey, listen, man, I tell everybody, I'm a basketball player. You see what I'm saying? I don't care what court we play on. I don't care what ball we play with. Meaning, family, I don't care what platform we debate on. I don't care what format the debate take place in, right? Whether it's a collegiate format, whether it's a Titan Debate League format, whether it's a Ring of Fire format, you know, it doesn't matter to me. I get in the ring. You feel me? Jay Snake said bro was bogus for saying Nelly though. No, bro, listen. And when I was younger, I didn't always have hair. People think I always had hair. When I was younger, I didn't have all of this. You see what I'm saying? And I used to get that a lot, bro. I really used to get Nelly a lot, for real. It was crazy. So you need to put a Band-Aid over your eye. I'd be like, what in the world? But yeah, that's platform or not. Let's get it. It's a platform or not. We should speak away so that if teens watch this one day, they have a clean form of knowledge at hand. Hey, Mir Dunn Myers, Marie Myers, that I agree with that. You know, platform or not, you know, we number one, we grown. So we should learn, we should have at least have some type of knowledge of how to conduct ourselves in public spaces, public forums, all of that. You see what I'm saying? And yes, this is not only about the adults, this is about the children as well. You know, we educating our people in plural, men, women, and children. And so if that's the case, then we have to utilize language that adhere to what they can listen to, right? We don't need all of the misguided information like the rap. What I mean by that is it's some good rap music out here. However, it's shrouded in a bunch of cuss words. So you really don't want your children listening to it. But the music got a good message, right? It's just not lyrically cohesive for children to listen to. And so I look at these platforms the same way. You feel me? If we want our people to listen to what we got to say, we have to say it in a manner that resonates with them. And that's not always ghetto. You know, and I know I use the word ghetto, but you know, savage, ghetto, YN, the new words they're using now, right? We have to change that narrative about our people. That all we are aggressive, ghetto, loud, ratchet, thugs. We got to change that narrative. You feel what I'm saying? And we also have to explain to people that what y'all see on these panels are passion. It's not hate. It's not envy. I mean, sometimes from some of the dudes, I guess you'll get a little bit of that. But for the most part, a lot of what you see on these panels is just brothers being passionate, just like Tootie said, brothers being passionate about their information. And that's understandable. You see what I'm saying? Kobe Bryant was passionate about basketball. Michael Jordan was passionate about basketball. Tom Brady was passionate about football, right? When they played these sports, it wasn't no joke to them. It wasn't no game. They was doing it for real. But then when they stepped off the field or when they stepped off the court, their whole demeanor changed. And so that's how we operate up here. You know, I want to shout out Brother Tahuti for actually bringing out that analogy. Respectfully, yes. Mardun, got you, Mardun. I apologize. Thank you for the correction. Shout out to Humble, though. You know I appreciate you, Brother Jay Snakes. You know I appreciate you. And with all that being said, family, we about to shut it down. But before I shut it down, of course, I'm going to run an ad. I'm going to run a little song. And then we going to get out of here. I appreciate everybody in the comments. I appreciate y'all engagement as always. Hey, y'all already know what it is. Tighten up. Keep that information tight. You feel me? Let's get into this. Let's get into this commercial.
Attention all debate fans. You've been watching, you've been arguing, you've been picking sides. But now it's time to level up. From this point forward, all debates on this platform are going members only. That means the hottest clashes, the wildest arguments, and your favorite personalities going head to head will only be available to subscribers. You want real scholarship, you want the smoke, you want the unfiltered action, then don't get left outside looking in. Sign up today for as low as $3.99 and get full access to every debate, every moment, every knockout argument. This is Titans Debate League, where legends are made and debates get real. Join now or miss out.
motivation. Yeah. Go own it. You own it. You own it. You own it. Are you investing your money or are you spending? You got that hunger, you come from humble beginnings. It's time to own it, no paying rent where you living. Go buy the land and you pass it down to your children. Do you feel me? Being broke ain't a number, that there's a mindset. They say it's lonely at the top, you made that climb yet. You wasted time, God no can't get no time back. You can't flip numbers till the day you flip your mindset. Yeah, if I told you crypto numbers, you would think I was lying. I heard people 35 were talking about they retiring. They hit the store, they got the book, they even studied online. About to build financial foundation, one tool at a time. I'm talking refinancing everything to stay alive. Before you get yourself a play, create a Power 5. Self-directed IRA will make it certified. You saving up for your health because they hurting guys. Got to go insure your life. That's life insurance, right?